Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is the third part of preparing for the hospital/labor. And today I'm going to be talking and discussing kind of what my general birth plan is. I mentioned it previously in my hospital bag video that my birth plan that I'm using is just kind of the checklist that was provided to me by my hospital. There are lots of templates out there that people have created to make a more complex birth plan. Personally, I just found it unnecessary, but if it works for you, great. So my birth plan, personally, the one the hospital gave me, is more of a checklist of all of the things that they provide, and I just checked off what I did and didn't want. I am going for a unmedicated labor. Basically what that means is I want little to no intervention, medical intervention as possible. Some things like, no pain medication, inductions, no episiotomy, basically just as little as possible. The first section on my birth plan is kind of discussing the general environment. Now, for when we're at home, obviously I'll be in my own space. I actually plan on doing a lot of my laboring in the baby room. That's typically where I feel the most comfortable at the moment. My birthing ball's in there. I do my yoga in there. I do a lot of things in there. And I think it helps me stay connected to baby girl. So I like doing things in there, and I'll probably do the majority of my laboring in there. The very beginning stages of labor, because when you're in early labor, your contractions aren't very intense yet. I'll probably just try and do some of the normal things I do depending on the time that they start. So like if it starts like early in the morning or super late at night, I'll probably try sleeping and resting for those portions because I'm going to need the rest. But if it starts to happen like maybe midday, I'll probably just go about my normal day, which is moving around. We'll go outside and do some walks, do laundry. I probably won't do anything very different until my contractions start getting more intense. Once they start getting intense, then Martin and I will really kind of more hunker down and using those techniques we've learned, such as counter pressure, such as using the birthing ball, deep breathing techniques, getting into the bath or the shower and having some warm water on me to help relax my muscles, and also doing some things where Martin can be really involved, not only to help me and support me, but so that he feels a part of the process as well. So in terms of the hospital environment, because of COVID, we were unable to do a hospital tour, and my hospital doesn't really have a video tour per se. They have one video, and it's, I think, less than 2 minutes long, of just like a scan of the room. So I don't really know what to expect in terms of what the hospital room's gonna be like. I did call because I had some questions about it, and I asked about laboring in the water because my midwife had mentioned it. Basically, they told me that they don't necessarily have like an actual like labor pool. It's more just some rooms have bathtubs where others don't. But it's just like a normal bathtub. It's not like an actual like labor bath, if that makes sense. Again, until we get there, we just don't really know what to expect. And that's part of the reason why we're gonna stay as home for as long as possible. I really don't want to be laboring at the hospital for more than like 2 to 3 hours. Ideally, I mean, depending on how fast baby comes. Some labors can last, more than a day, and some only last like 4 hours. So it really just depends on how my labor is going. Hopefully my labor will be relatively fast because I am going for an unmedicated labor, but because I'm also a first-time mom, sometimes they can be longer the first time. For the hospital, we have some different specifications. So like my hospital, we have to specify that I want my IV capped off so that I'm allowed to move around. My hospital also provides Bluetooth like monitoring, I guess. So like the belly band, and I don't know what other kind of monitors they put on you, but when I talked to the nurse, she said that all of their stuff is Bluetooth so that I'll be able to walk around. I also made sure to ask that I will have access to a birthing ball and a peanut ball. My hospital allows you to bring anything you want from home, so you are allowed to bring aromatherapy, music, lighting, whatever you want to make you feel comfortable, they allow. The only thing that we're bringing would be the speaker so that I can play my music, and that's about it. Also, on the labor section of my birth plan, they ask what kind of labor I would want, and I explained that I would like, they have it on here as natural labor. I don't like using that word because I think all labor is natural. I use the word unmedicated because it just means I don't want medicine, which also means that on my birth plan I have it specified for them to not even offer me an epidural. I don't want to be asked about it because I know I don't want it. I believe that if someone continues to pressure you about something, especially when you're in a moment of weakness, you might feel the need to just take them up on it. And so if they just don't offer it to me, then I won't be tempted to get it. Some other things that are on here is they ask about my waters breaking and whether or not I want them to try and break by themselves or have them broken for me. I put that I would rather them break themselves, but I know that for a lot of first-time moms, they don't ever remember their water breaking or remember losing their mucus plug or anything like that. Every labor is different, and so if it happens, it happens. I mean, if they have to break it, it's fine. I think a big part of when you're talking about your labor portion is that you really do need to be flexible on your expectations. And that's why I like the checklist method, is because it's just more of a general idea of what I want without putting too many details in there. Because honestly, your birth probably isn't gonna go as you want. You know, the body and babies and labor and everything, it's just gonna do what it's gonna do, and you can't predict what exactly is going to happen. So as long as you just kind of have like a general sense of what you want, I think that's more beneficial than having a very detailed plan. The next section is the birth section, and this is right after she's born, and this includes things like if you want delayed cord clamping, if you want to bank your baby's cord blood, who you want to cut the umbilical cord, and if you want a mirror to be placed so you can see yourself giving birth. Now, out of all of those things, the only thing I want is I do want delayed cord clamping. I honestly didn't know what it was at first, but I did some research on it, and I don't think it's harmful in any sort of way. I think that there's only really benefits for it. So I opted for it. My hospital does it. My midwife said it's actually more typical now to kind of delay cutting the cord. So it's something I definitely plan on. I do have on here for Martin to cut the cord, but when I talked to him about it, he said he's actually kind of iffy on it. I didn't even think it would be something he wouldn't want to do, but he said he's open to the idea of cutting the cord, but he's also slightly grossed out by thinking about cutting it. He doesn't do well with blood and body parts, but it's on there in case he does. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to. I'm not gonna like force him to cut the cord. I'll just have the doctor cut it. It's always good to designate a person, even if that person is yourself. The next section on my birth plan is actually about cesarean sections. Now, I'm not planning on having a C-section, but I did fill it out just in case that does need to happen, because again, while I want to have as little medical intervention as possible, if baby's in distress and we need to have a C-section done, then fine. But if it does happen, there are some things I want. Like, one of the things is I would like one of my hands to be free so that I can touch her after she's born, so I can have some form of skin to skin. Also just specifying that Martin will be in the operating room with me. And again, also bringing up the cord clamping. The last section of my birth plan is her newborn care section. So this includes things like waiting for a bath, making sure that she's in the room with me as much as possible. They also asked about if she does need to be taken out of the room, who would be going with her. Again, that would be Martin, so that at least one of us is with her at all times. Well, obviously I trust hospital staff, they know what they're doing, but it is my baby and I would rather someone be with her at all times, especially in those first few hours. We're trying to build a bond with her as much as she's trying to build a bond with us. This also talks about supplementation for formula. If she really needs it, then obviously I will supplement with formula. If they have donor milk, then I would rather use that. I have already kind of experienced some of my milk coming in, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But if it is, I am okay with formula if she really does need it, but I put on there that they do need to at least ask me first. The very last part that is on here is just any notes that I have on there, and the only note I have, and this is mostly because of COVID, is before they come into my room, they need to knock and wait for either Martin and I to answer before they come in, unless of course it's an emergency. This is because while we're in the hospital, we do have to wear masks whenever the nurses or doctors are in there, and I don't want to be wearing a mask throughout my whole labor, so at least if I have my door shut and they wait for an answer, I can put my mask on before they're entering so that I can be mask free while I'm laboring. Again, that was a really kind of general overview. You know, have some sort of general sense, definitely do some research on certain topics or certain laboring or birthing issues that you want to touch on, but overall, you really never know what's going to happen. Just stay open, get advice from your doctors, from someone you trust. Definitely talk to other moms. I found it really helpful to read birth stories, and it gave me a lot of ideas on how I would like my own birth to go. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know, and I will try and get back to them as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye.